everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. I am Steve.
And I'm Scott.
Together, we are Backyard Musings, the Science and Technology channel.
Yep, and I'm ready to butcher some words. We're talking about a new animal that's been discovered in the Great Salt Lake area of Utah.
Crazy.
So here we go.
Utah biologists have characterized D. woaabi, the first of two nematode species. And we're not talking about a toad like TOAD. This is a nematode. Nematode species recently discovered in the lake's microbialites. So it's like microbial. Scientists studying the Great Salt Lake have identified tiny roundworms that belong to at least one species never before described, with evidence suggesting there may be two new species. Researchers from the University of Utah detailed the discovery in a newly published study that documents the organism's features and assigns it a name, recognizing the indigenous people whose ancestral homelands include the lake. Would you like to know more?
Okay, so this is why you get paid the big bucks. You only had to say D, wabi. I got to sound out this word. So here we go. First butchered word. The species known as Diplolamelides. Okay, am I close? Woaabi appears to exist only in the Great Salt Lake and may serve an important ecological role that scientists have not yet fully defined. The research team, led by Assistant Professor of Biology Michael Werner, worked with the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation, it would be Indians, when naming the species. Tribal elders suggested woaabi, an indigenous word meaning worm. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Nematodes are among the most widespread animals on the planet, thriving in environments ranging from polar ice and deep sea hydrothermal vents to ordinary backyard soil. Because most measure less than a millimeter in length, that's tiny. They often go unnoticed. Scientists have identified more than 250,000 nematode species. Wow. Making them the most abundant animal phylum across land and water ecosystems. They account for roughly 80% of animal life in soils and about 90% of animals living on the ocean floor.
Wow. So, okay. Yet none have been positively detected in the Great Salt Lake until 2022, when expeditions by kayak and bike led by Julie Jung, then a postdoctoral researcher in Werner's lab, recovered nematodes in the lake's microbialites.
Biliates, yeah.
Biliates, okay. The lithified mounds covering parts of the lake bed. Werner's team reported that discovery in a paper last year. So this is all fairly new.
Yeah. Quote, we thought that this was probably a new species of nematode from the beginning, but it took 3 years of additional work to taxonomically confirm that suspicion, said Jung, now an assistant professor at Weber State University.
Okay. With the Werner Lab's discovery, nematodes became just the third metazoan taxon known to inhabit the lake's highly saline waters. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's almost like ocean water, I believe. The other animals being brine shrimp and brine flies, which is kind of like Mono Lake up in Mono County, which support vast populations of migratory birds during their seasonal stopovers. Ongoing work in the Werner Lab also indicates that there might be a second, potentially new species among the specimens his team has brought into the lab, but it will take more research to be certain. We need more money.
Give me your money.
We need the second author on the paper, Thomas Murray, is an undergraduate in the Werner Lab who has been sampling different parts of the lake. Okay.
Quote, it's hard to tell distinguishing characteristics, but genetically, we can see that there are at least two populations out there, Werner said. The Great Salt Lake nematode discovery raises two new big questions. How did the worms get there? And what role do they play in the lake's ecology? Well, we know how they got there. Noah's Ark, right?
Yeah.
It had to be on Noah's Ark.
Right. Or maybe, well, that's good. We'll go with Noah's Ark. From the onset, Werner's team suspected the lake's nematodes belonged to the family Monheisteridae. Monheisteridae? an ancient branch of the nematode phylum known for its adaptation to highly saline and other extreme environments. Through genetic and taxonomic analysis, the researchers concluded the new species under study belongs to the genus, here we go, Diplolemelodes, free living nematodes found in coastal, marine, and brackish environments. I wonder if they've looked to see if any of these are in Mono Lake.
The new species is now one of two members of this genus that don't inhabit coastal environments, the other being found in eastern Mongolia.
Oh.
So how did it get to a lake 4,200 feet higher and 800 miles from the nearest sea?
Good question. Noah's Ark. That big, but why haven't they been able to find it up until now? It's just weird. Quote, that begs some more interesting, intriguing questions that you wouldn't have even known to think of until we figured out the alpha taxonomy, according to Werner. Going on with the quote, there are two hypotheses, two models that are both kind of crazy for different reasons. Okay.
The first was proposed by co-author Byron Adams, a Brigham Young University biology professor and renowned nematologist. Millions of years ago, during the Cretaceous period, Utah sat on the west shore of a marine waterway, bisecting what is now North America.
Quote, so we were on the beach here. This area was part of that seaway, and streams and rivers that drained into that beach would be great habitat for these kind of organisms. That's according to Adams. Himself the namesake of a nematode species. Wow. Okay. Quote again, with the Colorado Plateau lifting up, you formed a great basin and these animals were trapped here. That we've talked about that, I believe. I think we've talked about that before. That's something that we have to test out and do more science on. But that's my go-to. The full hypothesis, or the null hypothesis, is that they're here because they've always kind of been here.
Yeah, we did a segment where they found fossils in like, I want to say lime rock, deep in the ground, which pointed to there being an ocean there.
Right. I want to say that was by Searless Lake that we talked about. Because remember, we moved that lady and she had that sample of the Searless Lake mud. Remember?
Yeah, but I'm thinking this is more towards the Midwest. That this huge ocean was in the Midwest, cutting across.
Gotcha.
But Werner noted northern Utah has not always been home to a saline lake. Between 20 and 30,000 years ago, the region was covered by the vast freshwater lake Bonneville.
Ah, okay. So then, interesting. Okay. Quote, if the nematode has been endemic since 100 million years ago, it has survived through these dramatic shifts in salinity at least once, probably a few times, he said. The other possibility, which Werner admits is even crazier, is that the nematodes arrived in the feathers of migratory birds that picked them up from the saline lakes in South America. Okay.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
Sure.
Quote, so who knows, maybe the birds are transporting small invertebrates, including nematodes, across huge distances, Werner said. Kind of hard to believe, but it seems like it has to be one of these two.
In the lab, the team made another mystifying observation. Female nematodes far outnumbered male among the samples. That's another confusing part of the story. This is a quote for us. When we sample out there on the lake and bring them back in the lab, we get less than 1% males. Wow. Lucky guys. But when we have cultured them in the lab, the males make up about 50% of the sex ratio. This is according to Werner. Going on with the quote, we're super happy to be able to culture them in the lab, but there's something about it that's clearly different from the lake environment.
These creatures inhabit the algal mats covering the lake bed microbialites, dining on the abundant bacteria that live on them. The researchers discovered the worms are largely confined to the top few centimeters of the mats. Below that, they were not detected. More research is needed to determine where exactly the nematodes fit into the lake's food chain, but given their abundance and importance in other ecosystems, it's almost certain they play an important role in the Great Salt Lake.
Nematodes are bioindicators of environmental health. Their numbers, species, diversity, and where they're found can reveal changes in water quality, salt levels, or the chemistry of sediments. With the Great Salt Lake under heavy human pressure, this newly discovered species could become a useful early warning system for tracking ecosystem change, according to the study. So,
Yeah.
you know, birds do weird things. So every once in a while, we'll find a golf ball from the golf range over here, the golf course, in our yard. And I was talking to a guy one day, and he goes, "Yep, those big crows, the big black crows, they'll pick those range balls up and they'll carry them, and then they'll drop them wherever." And they've dropped.
Sounds like Cameron.
What's that?
Sounds like Cameron. He'll
Yeah.
pick something up, carry it, drop it, and pick something else up.
Yeah, and they obviously they don't remember why they did it or what they're, you know, maybe they're bringing it back for a nest or something to eat, but then yeah, they drop it.
Cameron.
Anyway, funny story. Love the word butchering. So interesting.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the afternoon.
Take care. Have a good day.